It looks like our nice weather window is closed. We're back to our normal southeast Alaska weather. Actually, today it's not quite so bad. Wind blew last night a little bit. We had a few gusts and it started raining early this morning a little bit. Well, right now we got sprinkles and occasional showers. So like I said, it's not near as bad as the heavy rain and stuff we've been having. At least not yet. The forecast is rain for the next few days. And the weather prophets are saying there's another big wind coming in. They don't know exactly when. They think Friday, and they don't know exactly where. So far the prophecy is that it's going to be just west of us and south of us, the main part of it, that we're not going to get hit with it, but they admit that it's just a wild ass guess, so we don't know what's going to go on. Well, anyway, it is just sprinkling right now, just a few drops. Like I said, every once in a while we get a shower come through where it's pretty good little rain. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and just tough it out, I guess. Maybe I'll put my raincoat on and mill these logs out. I need some timbers and stuff to build a cover over those power wagons. I had in mind what I was going to do. I think I've got the old timbers left off the shed that I built years ago. The ones that were vertical rotted out because they were just pushed in the ground. They were just green, small green trees that I just pushed down in the ground and then cut off at a uniform height. Then I took some other small trees that were about 10, 11 inches in diameter. I milled them off flat on two sides, 6 inches thick, and I had those sitting on top of them. And I thought those were 16 foot long, and I thought that's what I needed to cover those trucks. But I got to measuring them, and I need 20 feet to cover those trucks. So I got to remeasure those. I got to dig those timbers out and remeasure them and see if they'll work. Anyway, those were all cut off of hemlock trees off the property. Like I said, those are up in the air, so they're still good. But I need some posts. I think I'll make some 6x6s, and I'll put 7 or 8 foot 6x6s across the back, and then I think 10 footers should be plenty across the front, and then run the timbers across them, and then 2x4s or 2x6s across that for sheet metal roofing to fit on. So I put this log on mill last night, yesterday afternoon. This was the first log off of that second tree that I cut down, the one that we put the rope around and pulled down. And I measured it out into 8 foot logs, but I cut it off 16 because the 8 footer was up on the bank quite a ways, and I would have had a hard time getting it off. So it was a 16 footer. I need at least four 8 foot 6x6s, so that'll give me 2 6x6s there. So I took the saw this morning, I trimmed off the butt cut off of it and cut it in half. So I'll go ahead and start milling that up. But it's, like I said, it's sprinkling out here. It's just sprinkling just a little bit, but you never know one of these rain showers is coming in, so I can't leave this camera out here. It's not waterproof, so I'm just going to have to do it without recording the fact, so you just have to take my word for it. I got that first hemlock log all butchered up. That's the second log in the second tree, and I did pretty good on it. I'm happy with what I got. 4 nice 2x6s, 1 really nice 6x6, 4 mediocre 2x2s, which I can use for stakes or something else, but they're not great, but they're not too bad. 1 okay 1x6 and 1 1-inch flitch, so that's not too bad. That log was 14 inches in diameter. There was almost no taper in it, so I didn't have to worry about adjusting for the taper in it. I just laid it on there and cut it, which didn't really make too much difference for the timber like a 6x6 anyway, but it would have made a difference for the dimension lumber. Well, that one's all butchered up. Now the hemlock is a different animal than what I've been cutting. I've been cutting yellow cedar and spruce the last couple years almost exclusively. It's been a while since I've cut a hemlock. Like I said, hemlock is a little different than yellow cedar or spruce. Yellow cedar is semi-hard, harder than spruce, but it's not real hard. It's not a real hard wood. It's kind of, I guess, compares to cypress. In fact, they call it Alaska cypress. It's harder than red cedar, western red cedar, but a little harder than the spruce. But again, it has really hard knots in it, so the blade has a tendency to wander on that. But it's got a high silica content in it, so it's very abrasive on the blade. The blades need to be resharpened or changed pretty regularly on that. The spruce is pretty soft wood, but the knots are really hard in it, and so the blades, when they hit that different density of wood, they like to climb or go down or whatever. But anyway, it's tough to make a nice straight cut in the spruce. Spruce is soft, but it's really fibrous. The wood fibers are kind of tied together or tangled together, so it starts pulling strings on it. So if the blade is not perfectly sharp in it, then it starts tearing wood fibers instead of cutting through it. You got to watch the blade sharpness on it. Hemlock is different. Hemlock is fairly dense. It's fairly hard. It's kind of on par with Douglas fir. Now, knots are harder than the hubs of hell on that, but the wood density is already pretty hard, so it doesn't have near the blade wandering like yellow cedar or spruce does on it. It's clean cutting. The fibers don't tear out on it like they do on spruce. It's nice and smooth, and it's not abrasive, so blades cut through it just like butter. It cuts really good. It's denser than spruce or yellow cedar, so it's half again or more heavier than a spruce timber the same size. So it's a lot heavier, a lot harder to handle. The other thing, it has no give to it. If there's a bend or a bow, it's going to stay there. Where spruce or yellow cedar, if you set those across a span and it has a bow in it or something, over time that bow will come out of it. You can actually steam bend both of those, but just a normal sitting out, the bend will kind of come out of it, will sag, and then they'll actually sag over a long span, especially if there's a lot of moisture in the air. Hemlock, you can't get it to bend. It'll break before it bends. You can't steam bend it or anything else. It's what it is. Like this log right here has kind of a sweep in it. What I have to do is to take that into consideration when I cut the log. It won't have much of an effect on a 6x6 timber, but it does have some tension in it. So what I kind of want to do on that is make it so that tension is across the wide part of the board instead of along the short part. So you can kind of bend that out then, but instead of having a bow in the board, it'll just, have a little arch in it or something. But anyway, that's something we got to watch out with hemlock. So cutting that, I got pretty good. It was just drizzling just a little bit, and then a dark cloud came over, and I thought we were going to get a deluge, but it got a few sprinkles of big raindrops and stuff. Now that cloud's gone over, but it's starting a nice steady rain, so I'm going to get out of this rain for a little while. Well, it's 5:30 and it's getting dark out here now, too dark to see to do anything else. I can't see the gauge on the mill anymore. I lost a couple hours of daylight, had to run to town, get some diesel fuel for the equipment for the Bobcat and the excavator. Of course, check the mail and run a couple other errands. Then when I come home, my wife's got order for the propane guy to come and fill up her propane tanks tomorrow, I guess. So we have a propane bottle, 120-pound tank in the bathhouse. I had to go get it out and bring it over to where he can get to it to fill it up. But I went ahead and cut up that other log, that butt log off of that little tree, that second tree, and I didn't get many 2x6s out of that. I only got 2 2x6s out of that, but I got 2 6x6s out of it. The one 6x6 has got a lot of wane on it. It's right up on the edge there. Bark is showing on that one edge pretty good, but it's good enough. It is plenty good. And then I got 2 2x4s, one beautiful 2x4, and again the other one's got some bark on it and stuff, but it's probably as good or better than any of them you buy, or most of them that you buy anymore. So I'm happy with that. That's the first log cut up, the first portion of the log. That's 2 logs actually cut up, 2 8-footers. So I need 4 6x6s, 8 feet long, or a little shorter for the rear of this shed. So that gives me 3 of them there now, and that gives me 6 2x6s. They're only 8-foot long 2x6s. I need 10-foot long 2x6s, but they're 2x6s nonetheless. They can be used for something. Anyhow, that one is done, and like I said, it's too dark to do anything else. And it's starting to rain again. I got back, it wasn't raining. I got a couple things done here then. Oh, well, we got this old water tank that fell off the bank last year and busted up. I cut it up into chunks that could fit in the garbage can so that we can start getting rid of that a little bit at a time. And I took the chainsaw and just cut it up. Anyhow, I'm happy with that. That's not a bad day's work considering